Got here today is the 50 horsepower Johnson outboard that I got from the state of Maryland Parks and Recreations. Unknown year, unknown model, according to them. And there's no typical serial plate that's obvious. So over here on this plate, I don't know if you can see down in here, but there is actually a placard down in there. From what I can read, potentially this could be a replacement powerhead, but it's kind of hard to read between these cables and this lower cover being in the way. So I'm going to remove this cover. That way we can check out exactly what year and model number this is. There's a few 3/8 bolts that hold this thing on, it looks like. Alright, so there's the label that I saw. Basically what it's saying is this engine conforms to model year 1998. It says it is a uncertified replacement engine. This is an uncertified replacement engine only. This equipment is used to replace pre-regulation engines, blah, 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 blah. I think the first thing I'm going to do is take these spark plugs out, get a look at their condition. Maybe, I don't know how long it's been since this outboard was actually used. I'll lubricate the cylinders a little bit and then see if I can get some power hooked up to this thing, at least enough to bump the starter over and get a compression test before we move forward. Alright, so they're both a little bit dark, but no rust. Alright, so these controls here came with a different motor that I picked up at the same time, but we'll just use those for this. Sounds like the choke works, and the starter works sweet. Not disengaging though, is it? There we go. Trying to blow out some of that oil that I put in the cylinders. Check the top cylinder first. $160. $160. Sweet, so we got good compression. Alright, I got both these spark plugs hooked up to a ground. Let's see what happens. I'll do one more time. So it's got spark, do one more time just to make sure you can see it. Cool. Alright, so that's two of the most important things right there. We got spark and we got really good compression. Let's hook it up to some fuel and see what happens. I'm gonna move this situation outside. We'll put the spark plugs back in, hook it up to a little bit of fuel, and see if we can get it to fire on the muffs. All right, here's our setup. We got fuel, battery, motor on the stand, and I just screwed the controls into the side of my stand just to make it easier. This is the water tube that goes to the telltale. Since we have this lower cover off, there's nowhere for that to go, so it's just dangling. And I've got my muffs here. I'll hook that up and we'll give it a start. Fuel connection's pissing. Got the wrong size fuel adapter, so I gotta try to find a smaller one. Alright. See if the carburetors take some fuel. Alright, so a couple leaks. This is the primer. You see that's dripping. And also, I believe this bottom carburetor is leaking. I don't know if it's just because of the float, if it's the fuel line, not entirely sure. So it's going to need some carburetor work. These things break all the time. Probably have to replace the cap on that. Alright, so that's the VRO system. It is Johnson Evinrude's method of putting oil into the fuel so that you don't have to pre-mix it. We're just going to bypass. We're going to take this thing out. We're going to put an old school fuel pump in, which goes here. I just happen to have one, so we'll use that and we'll put it back together. I know I said I was going to change out this VRO system, but I do have a replacement fuel filter for here, but I realized I don't have the gasket that goes back here for the, I guess the pulse that goes to it. And I don't have the screws to go into these holes. So I'll probably order those, and if I do get them in a timely fashion, I'll go ahead and switch it out on this video. So what I've found is it's pretty common for these primer systems on the Johnson Evinrudes to go bad. When I say go bad, really this part right here, this cap that goes on here, and it's got this piece right here, a crack develops in there, or there's also an O-ring that's in there that goes bad, and these things end up leaking. So they make repair kits for them, which is what I've got for this one. So I'll show you how to switch that out. All right, primer's back in place. Appears to be working. I'm gonna take this thing outside and let's see if it'll start.